From far and wide, Oilers fans, this is Dolynny TV. And welcome back to another Edmonton Oilers discussion here on Dolynny TV. I'm Tyson, and let's get right into this one because this one's going to be a little bit more complicated than the normal stats and numbers and opinions I throw at you guys, because this one is taking a look at how much the Oilers' depth is actually hurting them. Right, we all talk about the lack of depth scoring, the lack. No, this is not so much at this point of the season a lack anymore. We've known it's a lack since the early part, 20 games in, no problem. We are another 20, 25 games into the season now, and it is now an issue. It's a hurting issue for Oilers fans, the Oilers brass, the Oilers teammates that are producing, like Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, and RNH. You can add Darnell Nurse in there. So I took a look at five Oilers forwards, and just tried to take a look. You guys are going to have to follow the math here at what I did. Took a look at their points per game average over their career before this season, right? Take that points per game average and then compare it to their average from this season. So I took a look at five guys. I'll name them off in just a second. And then you minus or subtract or add whatever to see if they're above their normal career average points per game, or are they below. And for 4 out of 5 of these guys, very substantially in percentage points wise, 4 of those guys are very much so below their points per game average. And then you look at a guy like Puljujarvi, who we'll begin with right here, and this is where it gets a little bit fun. So Puljujarvi, I'll get to the stats first, then I'll minimize my stuff, and then I'll show you what I'm talking about when it comes to Kara. He is sitting at 13 points in 41 games played this year. Well, you guys want to know what that actually equates out to. That's a positive increase in his points per game career average by 0.07. So we're talking a little bit of a difference, right? 0.072 is the correct number I want to use. Not substantial when you're talking about an 82 game pace. That's not going to do you by much. That's going to do you maybe 5 extra points. So not exactly make or break material right there. But for Puljujarvi, a guy who comes into the lineup every night, works hard, still has some room in his game to work on, it's a positive sign that out of everybody that's floundering, at least, even though he's not exactly putting the puck in the net, that's the thing we're missing out of Kara. He had 11 goals last year, kind of at times was the spark of the offense that needed it. However, he's only got 2 this year, so as much as I say yes, he's positive, problem is the numbers are not nearly as well balanced as they were last season for Puljujarvi in 69 games where he had 21 points. So, and even that, man, he had a heck of a season last year and a better points per game average in one season, but you got to go back and think he had only 2 assists in his first 15 in his 21-year-old season and only 1 goal in 10 games in his first. So it all kind of melds together. You see what I'm getting at with that first stat. So the next guy I'm talking about is Kyle Brodziak, who came to Edmonton this year to play for his hometown team again and see what he can do and hopefully solidify a 4th line. Well, unfortunately, he's been a 3rd-line center, he's been a 4th-line center, and things just have not exactly worked out as well as you would have hoped for a guy like Kyle Brodziak in his return back to Edmonton. I believe that's the number I have for him. Yes, it is. So the number for Kyle Brodziak, when you compare his career average to his average this season, I wish I could do that, but that would be way too many calculator tabs. I could write it down, but way too much staring at the screen and not actually looking like I'm trying to present something to you guys. So the difference is a negative 0.182 points per game from his career average. You want to talk about that. I'll get to what these stats are going to mean in a minute here, but you can already see now we're getting into the 4 guys who are not producing what they need to. And yeah, Jujar up by, I don't even know how, a 1/7 of a percentage. I don't even know how to quantify that for you guys. That's not much of a change. This one is a big one. This is more than double. It's almost double and a half of what Puljujarvi's stats are. That is a hard pill to swallow if you're an Oilers fan. For a guy like Kyle Brodziak, who by all accounts, came in with a little bit of positive reinforcement, right? 33 points last year. Oh, maybe he found his game. He did play under Hitch. He did play okay. Not exactly the best. Like, you look at the years under Hitch, 11 points, 15 points. So maybe Hitch likes him a little bit more shutdown. But in a season in which you need more offense, why wouldn't Hitch be turning him loose when he has a history of being able to get the job done offensively? Well, you can see that's where I'm getting at. It's kind of hurting the Oilers in a sense. Now, another guy right there that I'm going to look at, similar situation, is Tobias Rieder. A guy who still doesn't have a goal this season, is regularly in the lineup, only has 7 assists in 32 games played, and the difference between his career average and this season's points per game average is a negative .156. I'm hoping I'm not getting any of my calculator tabs messed up, because if I do, I'm going to look like a total clown. At least the end of the video will save me when I meld everything together and kind of show you what I'm talking about with these stats. So again, another double-digit difference. And this one's over actually double digits and a half when you're talking for Tobias Rieder and Kyle Brodziak. So those are going to hurt the Oilers. And you're going to see how close it gets to adding up to a full season for the Edmonton Oilers, that's for sure. So Milan Lucic, the next guy. Well, guys, I don't need to sit here and tell you that he's not performing. You guys will sit here and come down my throat when I tell you this stat for Milan Lucic. This is how ugly this is getting for Milan Lucic in Edmonton at this point. This season, his points per game, oh my god, I can't even talk, points per game average in comparison to his previous years in the NHL, his previous 11 years, is a negative .393, almost .4 less points per game than his career average. That is the number. That is the number I really want to drill home how scary of a mess this is for the Oilers. They have guys that have done it in the past. They have guys who legit, when they get paid, got paid what they got paid because they were doing what they were supposed to be doing. And now you've got guys on bad contracts just absolutely dragging this team down. How bad is the Oilers' depth? Right there. Milan Lucic, at the end of this, you will see that .393 is essentially half of the production we're missing in these 5 guys. I'll show you what I mean, because now we're going to go and quickly chat about Zack Kassian. I'm just going to check one thing. There we go. I'm on par good. I'm trying to time this out, make sure I don't waste too much time boring the stats, and then actually give you guys something quantitative. Let's go get the Zack Kassian stat. Nope, that's the final stat I'm looking at. So let's go. So here you go. For these guys. Okay, this is the 5th guy. For Zack Kassian, he's played with the Sedins, he's played with McDavid, he's played with guys all over the NHL, right? He's been in Buffalo, he's been in Vancouver, he's now in Edmonton. And for Zack Kassian, he did make a pit stop in Montreal, but we don't talk about that. Negative .159 on his career average, right? This year compared to last year. So that's another big hit, another double-digit and a half hit for Zack Kassian. Now, when you go over to the last calculator, guys, I've gone through the missing production, right? That's a 15th of a point per game missing, a 15th, right? Oh, you see what I'm getting at? Well, now you get this here. That adds up, all this, to divide that by 82. That is negative .818 points per game missing from the Edmonton Oilers lineup, just combining these 5 guys. And you sit there and you got to realize, oh crap, wait a minute. Jujhar Khaira's doing better. So what does that factor in? If he weren't there, it would be a negative .825 points per game missing depth-wise between 4 guys. The reason why I brought Jujhar Khaira into the conversation, even though he's a positive, is just to show, yes, the Oilers have some depth that is really not getting the job done, but in terms of all the depth, when I'm looking at guys that aren't really expected at this point to make much of an impact, Jujhar Khaira is as minimal of a positive as it is a positive. So negative .185 or 818 times 82. Guys, do you know how many points that is missing from our lineup this season in terms of these 5 guys' production? That is 67 points. You want to talk about a team, an Oilers team, that is scoring, goals at a terrible rate when it comes to depth. I'll pull up this stat. I was going to try and avoid pulling up this stat, but let's go for it. Stats, you know what? Let's go team schedule. Where's my standings? Where's my standings? Because I want goals for. Now, you want to talk about goals for right now. We have ourselves a whole fancy 126 goals for. That's terrible. Terrible when you're considering Connor McDavid has, 54% of the goals for us? That's god-awful. Now you add that you're taking away 67 points due to lost production this season out of these guys. Well, now all of a sudden, okay, 67 points. Yeah, you know what? A couple of them play together. So say a total of 35 goals. Do you know where 35 goals extra out of these guys and combining with McDavid, combining with the defense, would do for us if they were doing career average numbers? Let me tell you, it would be absolutely phenomenal for this Oilers team, because that would get them 161 goals for. That's 35. I don't know, I can't quantify those numbers for you entirely, but based on my best estimation, 35 goals, that would be an alright number when you're throwing these guys together with 67 points missing out of the lineup. Well, look at that. Look at that. Here's the thing. 161 goals for puts us third in our division. Okay, third in the division, first in the wild card conversation. Ugly. Absolutely ugly to be missing these 67 points. And I mean, yes, 35 goals up to this point. I can't quantify that, but you know what I'm getting at. It's a mess to a degree for sure. And for the Oilers, it's just something you can't believe. You want to talk about 67 points missing out of the lineup on an 82 game pace. Well, divided by 5, that's 13.5 points missing from these guys' points totals if they were to have a career average year this year. You want to talk about the lack of depth scoring, how much it's hurting the Oilers? That, my friends, Oilers fans, is how much it is hurting the Oilers. 5 guys, 1's positive, hallelujah. 4 guys dragging down the team, not performing at league average or at career average. What a frigging disaster the depth has been. And not that these guys are bad guys, I'm not coming down on them. It's just the year they are having is so disastrous that at the end of the year, between these guys in lost productions, we're pretty much missing a full season out of a guy like Jordan Eberle. How do you replace that by having McDavid and Draisaitl only combining with goals with RNH, Nurse, Klefbom? It doesn't friggin' work. You want to see the situation we're in? This is why we're in the situation we're in. It's very, very friggin' clear when you look at these 5 guys, add up the totals, do the math, and see exactly where we sit. Guys, I'm Tyson. This has been Dolynny TV. I've ranted on long enough. I will talk to you in the next one.